the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration Manual.
Is it a lawsuit? Probably. Why not?
I'm not going to go in any particular order, so forgive me if I bounce around just a little bit. You indicated that on direct examination this morning that you didn't seek a search warrant for 34 Fairview, the interior of 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
To your knowledge, nobody under your supervision sought such a search warrant either, correct?
Correct.
You explained that in your mind there was no probable cause to seek a search warrant for the interior of the home, is that right?
Yes.
But you also admitted that you didn't seek consent, for which you don't have to have probable cause if you get consent, correct?
Correct.
You could ask me right now, hey, Alan, can I look at your cell phone? If I say, sure, you do your thing, right?
I could.
But for a court to order that I hand over my cell phone, you got to get a search warrant, sign an affidavit, and get a court to agree with it, correct?
Yes.
You've applied for myriad search warrants in your career, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Very experienced, correct?
Supposedly.
And I
Supposedly.
and I expect that there have been circumstances.
Wait a minute. You see, already, and I know you guys, we didn't cover the direct, when Adam Lally gave him the direct examination questions because they're boring and nobody's interested in that. We want the fireworks, and Alan Jackson is here to deliver the fireworks. A simple question. You are a professional, yes? Supposedly. Because he knows if he just answers yes, he might be walking into a trap. What has he got to worry about? Oh, you'll see what he's got to worry about.
This is Lieutenant Tully, in which you sought a search warrant, and the judge says, no, I don't think there's enough here, correct?
Yes.
You don't get in trouble for that, correct?
With whom? No.
With the court.
No.
Well, it's not illegal.
It's not illegal.
You don't get sanctioned for it. You don't get your pay docked because you don't get a search warrant based on an affidavit, correct?
Correct.
So there's no real sanction in seeking it if you in good faith believe that there's a reason to seek it, correct?
Outside of the time that it takes to author it and put it together and go to the court, yes, there's no sanction.
Of course. But in a homicide investigation, you're not going to fail to do certain investigative tasks because it takes time. You're going to do what is necessary for the investigation, correct?
Yes.
Of course. You indicated that you did not believe that there was information sufficient that y'all had at the very initial stages of the investigation to seek a search warrant or to ask for consent, correct?
Yes.
But you did know the following. In the initial moments of the beginning of the investigation, you were aware that John O'Keefe had been invited to a party inside a home, correct?
Yes.
You knew that that home was located at 34 Fairview.
Yes.
You also knew that John O'Keefe arrived at 34 Fairview, correct?
We believe so, yes.
You also knew at the time that he had been, for want of a better phrase, partying with the individuals who were inside the home, correct? Expected to meet at the house.
They were at a bar previous to that, yes.
You're aware that a drinking glass...
Notice the dodgy and cagey nature of that answer. It's not, oh, yeah, they were all going there. Yeah, they were at a bar previously, sure. I don't know nothing about goings-ons in the house, counselors. Kill me now.
Found in the yard attendant to or close to, adjacent to where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found.
Yes.
That drinking glass had been broken, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that drinking glasses are commonly found inside homes, right?
As well as bars.
As well as bars, right? But at that point, you didn't know. It's just a broken glass, correct?
It's a broken glass, correct.
You also know that he was found without a coat on.
Yes.
Are coats normally worn outside or inside?
It's user's choice.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
okay.
18 degrees, you would expect that if someone was outside, they'd have a coat on, correct?
I'm the kind of person that wears shorts throughout the year. I'll often go without a jacket.
All right. A true Bostonian.
Yes, sir.
Wait a minute, so you want to tell me, Lieutenant Tully, that you're going to wear shorts in 18-degree weather? What is that? I think there was a comedian that made fun of that, like this is all I have going for me, huh? Like, look at me, I got good genes. My feet don't get cold. My legs don't get cold. If you mate with me, we're gonna have children whose legs don't get cold. We're gonna have good childrens, eh? Let's have some good childrens, eh? Oh. Shout out in the comments below if you know which comedian said that joke. I think it was Bill Burr, but I can't remember.
Coat, gloves, scarf, nothing like that.
Correct.
He had no winter gear on whatsoever, correct?
Correct.
Under ordinary circumstances, and you may be the exception, but under ordinary circumstances, if someone was out in 18-degree weather, you might expect that they would have some winter garb on, correct?
Objection.
I mean,
You would
Jury heard it.
certainly would expect that if someone took their coat, their glove, their hat, their winter gear off, they might leave it inside the house, right? Rather than outside the house.
Objection.
I'll let you answer that, Detective Lieutenant.
Detective
It's probably
Lieutenant.
predicated on where you take it off.
Right.
And your relationship to the location.
Right. Reasonable assumption might be the winter gear might be inside the house.
Objection.
Is that a reasonable assumption, Detective Lieutenant?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
It's not reasonable. that he would
Okay.
have his jacket inside the house? You wouldn't just assume that?
Well, using the term "the house," you talking about any house? 34 Fairview?
Correct.
No, it's not reasonable.
All right. You didn't think it was reasonable at the time
Still don't.
to even ask. Could he have had a jacket off inside the house? And I'm talking about at the time, the initial stages of the investigation.
Who am I asking this question to?
So I'm asking if you
Wow.
believe it was reasonable. If a man is found 30 feet outside the front door of a home and he's got no winter gear on whatsoever, that perhaps he came from inside the home not having donned his winter gear.
Objection.
Can you answer that, Detective Lieutenant?
It's not reasonable, given other information I had.
You also know that he didn't have a shoe on, correct?
Yes.
Where might you look for the shoe if you didn't find it out by his body initially?
In the house.
Well, the question's not
just say
accurate
it.
to the facts we had at the time.
Just say it.
Well,
in the
facts
house.
you had at the initial stages. I'm talking about just after 6:37, 7:30 in the morning, when the investigation was beginning. During those times,
Can't say
he didn't
it.
have any information about
He can't
where
say
the other
it.
shoe was, except he just didn't have a shoe on at the hospital, correct?
We didn't know there was a shoe not accounted for until after noontime.
So
Okay.
you did find out that there was a shoe unaccounted for.
Go in the
One
house.
place to look might be outside, correct?
Start
Yes.
there.
And another place to look might be inside the home, correct?
We looked at the former and we located it there.
You also are aware that a body
We looked outside and we found it. There's no reason to search further because Brian Albert is my friend. I mean, because he never went in the house.
being dragged by the shoulders could easily lose a shoe.
Objection.
Sustained.
Have you ever experienced a homicide in which a body is dragged and you're aware of a shoe being pulled off while the body's being dragged?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
I don't have experience with that.
Certainly not outside the realm of possibility as a professional investigator.
It's
right?
possible.
You were also aware that, at least initially, it appeared from accounts that John O'Keefe may have been involved in a physical altercation, correct?
Possible.
As a matter of fact, that was reported by one of your subordinates, Yuri Buchanan, to the medical examiner's office, right?
As a possibility, yes.
As a possibility. And you're aware that your other subordinate, Trooper Proctor, according to certain information he had gotten from first responders, also believed that a physical altercation was possible. Sorry, as well.
It was possible, yes.
Okay. And you also knew that the house would be a normal location to have other individuals who might have been involved in that physical altercation.
Objection.
I feel like Kabi in this case, like, hello. It's the obvious place to look. It's the next best, like, hello? We need to get Kabi to cover this case. Maybe then some things will happen. Who knows?
Can you answer that, Detective Lieutenant?
An altercation could take place anywhere.
Exactly.
And people can often travel from the location of the altercation miles away to another location.
Or they could travel 30 feet outside as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In the early morning hours of, well, let's say the hours following your Massachusetts State Police initiation or engagement in this investigation, you became aware of Brian Higgins, correct?
Yes.
That name was bantied about as a potential witness in the investigation, correct?
Yes.
And you're aware that Brian Higgins indicated that he saw a tall, dark-haired man enter the home after he arrived, correct?
I'm not aware of that.
And the reason you're not aware of it, Lieutenant Tully, is because nobody bothered to interview Brian Higgins February 10th, right?
Objection.
So in that form that is sustained, ask it differently, Mr.
When was
Jackson.
Brian Higgins first interviewed?
February 7th?
7th, 10th?
To-
Yeah, in February, not January 29th, certainly.
Correct.
Although he was known to be inside the house, correct?
Yes.
So had you known that, had you had the information, for instance, that Brian Higgins admitted to having seen a tall, dark-haired man walk in the house, that might have changed the complexion of your investigation at that time.
Objection.
Can you answer that, Detective Lieutenant?
In the off chance that Mr. Higgins presumably had said something like that, I would certainly need more information describing this person. I would ask a series of questions to narrow it down to make sure that this person was John O'Keefe.
Right, exactly. That would just be a normal part of the investigation. You just take evidence A and link it to evidence B to evidence C. That would be the normal way to do an investigation.
We would normally follow the evidence. Correct.
But in point of fact, nobody did seek a warrant to go inside the house, correct?
Correct.
Nobody did seek to have a forensic team go inside the house and look,
Correct.
and nobody asked for consent.
Correct.
I want to ask you about the,
So you completed a half-assed investigation. You don't mind that. You're freely admitting it. It's so disheartening, like how connected all of these players are and how much they're protecting one another in all of this. Like it makes my heart sink for how many more people have been caught in this web over the past few years, decades, however long this McCalibert family has been running the show as the head mafia of Canton. It's just terrifying. I'm sure people who live there have stories to tell. And if you're from there or that area or have heard some stuff about that area and local, if you're like in California, please don't tell me what you've heard on the grapevine, but comment below. I'm curious what you've got about what the McCaliberts have done. By the way, I want to take this moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, me and my law firm, 1-844-774 hurt. If you are ever injured in an accident anywhere in this country, call us. Trial lawyers are standing by to get you the maximum compensation. All right, back to the video.
Sallyport video, if I could. Did you obtain a copy of any video surveillance footage from Canton Police Department?
Yes.
Okay. If you can, tell me which footage you obtained and where. And there's several videos, Lieutenant, and it can be confusing. So if you could be as detailed as possible, explain what footage you gathered and when you gathered it.
Most recently, and the date escapes me, but it's within the last couple of months, I had contacted Chief Helena Rafferty of the Canton Police Department and asked her to burn another copy or create another copy of the Sallyport video during a certain time period on January 29th to ensure that the video that we had received previously was all of the records responsive to that request.
And you found out that the video that you received earlier was not, in fact, completely responsive because there was a video left out, right?
I didn't do a one-to-one comparison. I just had made the request.
Ultimately, you did receive a video of the interior of the Sallyport, correct?
Yes.
And can you tell me, did you look at that? Did you review that video?
Quickly, not the whole thing.
Okay. Was there anything of note about that interior video? By the way, let me ask you another question, Lieutenant Tully, just to clarify. There's a very grainy, dark, almost black of the interior, correct? You've seen that one?
Yes.
Or excerpts of it?
Yes.
And that video is missing some pretty significant time frames throughout the video?
I didn't review the whole thing, but I'm aware of that video existing.
Fair enough. Then there's another video that's pretty clear, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm asking you about the clear video. Did you make any note about anything unusual about that video?
No. But again, I didn't really review it.
You didn't review it with any detail?
Correct.
Did you make a note that that video was inverted?
I did not.
Did you make a note about the timestamp on the video either being correct and properly positioned or inverted?
No.
Did you give that video to Trooper Proctor?
I believe I gave it to Sergeant Buchanan.
Sergeant Buchanan? And
Oh.
then what did Sergeant Buchanan do with it?
I don't know.
Reviewed it.
Oh,
Is that somehow
he actually
uploaded
answered.
onto the Massachusetts State Police computer system somehow for safekeeping?
No, we'll hold it within the DA's office on that server. You know, it's not touching the MSP.
Okay, so it is uploaded on some sort of server.
We will memorialize it somewhere, yes.
Did Chief Rafferty give it to you on a thumb drive or a disk, or how was it physically provided?
I don't know. I didn't receive it. She dropped it off at the office. I remember a thumb drive.
You remember a thumb drive. All right. And then it's uploaded onto the system, and the case officer would have access to that system.
Yes.
Okay. And in this case, that would be Trooper Proctor.
Yes.
Did you notify Trooper Proctor, when I say immediately, reasonably quickly, after you received or after you got notice that the video had been dropped off by Chief Rafferty?
I informed Sergeant Buchanan.
Okay. And do you know, as you sit here, you may not, as you sit here, do you know if Sergeant Buchanan reasonably quickly informed Trooper Proctor that that video existed?
I don't know when or where that notification was made.
As you sit here now, you are aware that Trooper Proctor is aware of that video and had access to it?
Yes.
Okay. Yesterday, there was some testimony about taillight pieces that were found at the location, correct?
Yes.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
With the court's permission, I've asked for the evidence bags that were entered into evidence yesterday.
Okay.
Oh, he's bringing
May
the
take a
evidence
minute.
bags back.
Before I get to the evidence bag, may I inquire?
Yes.
Thank you. Before I get to the evidence bag, Lieutenant Tully, one more or maybe a couple more questions about the Sallyport video. You indicated that you received additional video from Chief Rafferty that once she dropped it off, you said within a couple of months ago.
Yeah. Additional that package. Yes.
What was the original Sallyport video that you received? In other words, what were you following up on?
What you had previously described as a grainy black-ish video.
Okay, and so just to be clear and close that loop, when did you receive that video, if you can tell us?
Which one? The grainy one?
The Brady
Earlier in the investigation.
one. A year ago, 2 years ago?
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you believe it was pretty early on in the investigation?
I don't recall.
Do you know what the mechanism was that you received that one? If Chief Rafferty is the one that gave over the clear video, how did you get the grainy video?
I don't know.
Was it you that received it, or do you believe that you commissioned Trooper Proctor to go get that video?
It would have been a task for Sergeant Buchanan or Trooper Proctor or someone else from the unit.
So the reason you don't know is because you didn't personally do it.
Correct.
Yesterday, you testified that it's obviously your responsibility as not just the chief of the unit, but as the evidence officer to maintain and protect the integrity of the physical evidence that's found under your supervision, correct?
Oh, now we're going to be talking about evidence. Oh, this is going to be juicy.
You indicated that you took photographs of the items that were recovered on that initial search, and you took those photographs in place where they were found, correct?
Yes.
With the exception of one of the photos, you indicated that it had been moved by a shovel, and then you instructed the individual put it back down where it was found, and then that's the point at which you photographed it, correct?
Yes.
You took an establishing shot, then a closer shot, and then I think even a third close-up shot, correct?
Yes.
And you indicated pretty clearly yesterday what the evidence that you found at the scene was a red plastic taillight piece that was recovered first, then 3 feet or so to the south of that, the shoe was recovered, and then 1 to 2 feet south of that, another red plastic piece, and then a clear plastic piece next to that, correct?
Yeah, you get the last two inverted. It's clear, then red. But
Inversion, it's becoming a theme. Sorry about that. So it was a clear piece,
So I'm going to strike that comment.
and then
Okay,
a
Bev.
red piece next to the clear piece.
yes.
3 pieces of plastic in total and a shoe.
No, there was with the clear piece, there was 2 pieces with it. So clear plastic, multiple pieces of the clear plastic.
Okay, so yesterday when we saw the photographs that you testified to, there was 1 piece of clear plastic that was photographed, right?
2.
Didn't the photograph have 1 sort of arc-shaped clear piece of plastic that you described as having did you say dimples or stippling?
Yes, I think I said dimples.
Okay. And what was the second photo?
The next photo that was displayed was the second piece of clear plastic taillight.
So in fact, that would be 4 pieces of plastic.
Yes.
Okay. But yesterday you testified that you found 3 pieces of plastic, and in your report, you reported that you found 3 pieces of plastic, correct?
I didn't number the piece of plastic, if I recall my report correctly. I said we found clear plastic. And as I displayed out of the bag, there was 2 pieces of clear plastic that we,
But there was only a photograph of 1,
no, there wasn't.
and your report says 3 total pieces of plastic, doesn't it?
No.
Let's take a look.
Aha. Now we're
Do you
getting
have your
somewhere.
report with you, Detective Lieutenant?
Not that one, Your Honor.
Okay.
Detective Lieutenant. Why do I find that so hilarious?
Can I have those photographs from yesterday?
Your Honor, is it possible that we can take our recess so I don't waste the jurors' time? I can use my time wisely.
Sure.
All right, jurors, we'll take our morning recess.
All rise for the court, please.
Time.
Sure, go right ahead.
Lieutenant Tully, we were talking just before the break about the search on January 29th, 2020.
By the way, I just want to take another moment and shout out the trial channel for providing this. If you want to see all this footage without my stupid commentary, please, they have eliminated, as you can see, all the breaks. I didn't have to do anything. That was not a cutscene. That was me watching the trial channel. So shout out to you guys. Thank you for doing this. And they have so many more trials on their YouTube channel. They're awesome. Go check them out.
2022. Obviously, it's important to be accurate in terms of the memorialization of things that are found of note during a search, correct?
Yes.
And the way that you normally would memorialize something like that would be in a police report, correct?
That's one method,
You
yes.
might have personal handwritten notes that
I
would
might.
attend a search, correct?
Yes,
You might videotape part of it or all of it,
I could.
and then you could photo document it as well.
Yes.
But ultimately, the circumstances surrounding how something was found or what was found at the time is best done in a memorialization in a police report, correct?
That is one method, yes.
That is the official record of what was done at the time and who did it, correct?
Yes.
And you did, in fact, draft a police report as it pertains to the search that was done by the CERT team on January 29th, 2022.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Charmer?
Yes.
If you would take a look at the face page of that and tell me if that looks familiar to you.
It does.
Is that your report that you utilized? Is that the report that you wrote, rather, not utilized? Is that the report that you wrote documenting the search that was conducted that you've testified to in front of this jury?
Yes.
What's the date of that report?
February 10th, 2021, which was a typo, should be February 2022.
Okay, so February 10th, 2022 was the date that you memorialized the information about the search, correct?
Yes.
Obviously, that was much, much closer in time than today, correct?
Yes.
Or yesterday, correct?
Correct.
What Alan Jackson is doing right now is called laying a foundation. He's just making sure that the jury understands what the report is and that there's no objection from Lally, at least on foundational grounds. This is your report. This was much closer in time. You know what's in it. And now I'm about to nail you over the head with it. And that's what you're not ready for.
If you turn to paragraph 3, could you review that paragraph and tell me, after you review it, if that refreshes your recollection about exactly what you indicated was found by you and the CERT team on January 29th, 2022?
My recollection of what was located remains the same. I do see that the report states that it was a piece of clear plastic.
Okay. So, in fact, your report says that at approximately 17:45 hours, which is what time?
5:45 p.m.
The CERT team located, quote, a piece of red plastic, correct?
Yes.
And then it goes on to say it was consistent with brake-like material from a motor vehicle, right?
Yes.
Then if you look down a couple of other sentences, you talk about the shoe that was then recovered, correct?
Yes.
Then if you look at the second to the last sentence, a few feet south from the sneaker, a piece of clear plastic consistent with clear lens of a motor vehicle was located, correct?
Yeah, the quote is a second piece of red plastic. Yes.
Well, actually, the sentence before that, sentence just above that, starting with a few feet south.
Yes.
It reads, a few feet south from the sneaker, a piece of clear plastic.
That's not what it says. Would you like me to read it?
Oh, I'm reading it. Sure, read it.
Okay. The sentence is several feet south of the clear plastic.
Lieutenant Tully.
Sorry.
Sentence above that. Before that.
A few feet south of the sneaker, a piece of clear plastic consistent with clear lens of a motor vehicle was located.
Right. So in your lexicon, a piece means singular, does it not?
Yes,
If you meant pieces, you would have written pieces. You're educated, correct?
allegedly.
So clearly, from this report that was memorialized on February 10th, you indicated that a piece of clear plastic was located consistent with clear lens from a motor vehicle, right?
That's what it says.
Okay. Then, well, it's not just what it says, it's what you wrote.
Correct.
Right. Then the next,
Notice the distancing language. Yeah, that's what this report says. This is your report. Yeah, you're the author of it. Well, yeah, you're the one who wrote it. Yeah, nobody else contributed to this report. Well, maybe people I spoke to, but yeah, for the most part. So this is your language. Well, this is a report. Yeah.
the sentence you were about to read, go ahead and read that for me as well.
Several feet south of the clear plastic, a second piece of red plastic was located.
Okay, simple math. According to your report written on February 10th, a piece of red plastic was found first. Then a piece of clear plastic was found. Then a piece of red plastic was found thereafter, correct? According to that report.
Yes.
Then you go on in the following paragraph to reiterate, just to clear up any doubt about what was found. And the last sentence reads, the sneaker and 3 pieces of plastic were secured as evidence, correct?
Objection.
That's in his report. What are you objecting to, Lally? He's reading the dude's report. Where's the objection? This is called impeachment, Lally. Learn it. It'll make you a better lawyer. Although I doubt, I think you're too far gone.
What's the objection?
Form.
No, I'll allow it.
Yeah, that's
Is that what it
stupid.
says?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
Then yesterday, you were asked to open these 2 evidence envelopes, correct? Yeah, evidence bags.
Should I take a look?
Oh, of course, yes. May I approach you on that?
Yes.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, you guys. Lally's incompetence makes my skin crawl.
7571. Those are the bags that you opened yesterday, correct?
Yes.
You indicated yesterday in front of the jury, you didn't indicate, you pulled out 2 pieces of clear plastic, did you not?
I did.
Okay. That was in bag, I want to say that was in bag 570. Why don't we do this? Can you please open, with the court's permission, can you please open bag 570, I'm sorry, evidence, exhibit 570 in that bag, and just look inside.
I didn't bring gloves with me, Your Honor.
I think there might be some on the stand there
thank you, Your
inside
Honor.
that.
That's called tunnel vision, by the way. It has nothing to do with anything, but when you're like so focused on something, there may be something literally like the cup would be right there. You wouldn't be able to see it because you're so focused on what's in front of you. It's right there. All you have to do is just do this with your eyeballs, you know? And the problem is because it's outside your periph and you're so hyper-focused, it's a flight or flight response. It's a psychological aspect of us as creatures on this planet. Animals have it, humans have it. So why is Tully having such a fight or flight response to this testimony? What is he hiding? Well, we know, but really, you know, tunnel vision. They're right there. I mean, okay, some of you may argue, hey, come on, Larry, it looks like a box of tissues. He doesn't know that they're gloves. Maybe somebody would be crying on the stand. Well, okay, just, Your Honor, I didn't bring any gloves with me. Oh, but let me see. Maybe you have some gloves here? No, he can't. He's too hyper-focused. They're right in front of him. That's also a little telling, by the way, about his state of mind. It's quite fascinating.
Attorney Jackson, could you just repeat your request again, make sure I have it correct?
Of course, Lieutenant. Let's start with 570.
Okay.
I don't remember which one it is, so if you could just open it and look inside and describe for us which items are inside that bag.
So 570, the description is pieces of red, hard plastic taillight cover contained inside this bag.
Look down in there and tell me, do you see red plastic pieces?
Yes.
Okay. Yesterday, you pulled out 2 pieces and indicated that was what was contained in the bag, correct?
Correct.
Take another closer look.
As I take a closer look, there are 2 pieces and there is a very small fragment that remains in the bag.
Can you pull that fragment out as well? Can you show that to the jury? Okay, you can go ahead and replace that. So in total, Lieutenant Tully, how many pieces of red plastic are in that evidence bag?
As we sit here today, There are 3.
Thank you. Go ahead and close that. And we can open up the second bag. I'll go ahead with the court's permission. May I approach?
Yes,
Thank you. Your Honor, may I?
yes.
If you wouldn't mind, the next bag is Exhibit 571, is that right?
Yes.
Could you please open that and let's go through the same process? Just look inside and tell us what you see.
Inside 571, there are 2 pieces of clear plastic.
You can go and replace those.
Hold on a second. So that's 5. That's 5. That's not 3. Unless I don't do maths very good. Let's see what he has to say about that. Tully? Lieutenant, detective, detective, lieutenant, right, Bev? Just pick one, lieutenant or detective. You don't have... What is a detective lieutenant?
May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Those 2 bags are supposed to represent what was found by the CERT team on January 29th, 2022, correct?
Yes.
There's 5 pieces of plastic, 3 red, 2 clear, correct?
As we sit here today, yes.
My question, Lieutenant Tully, is where did the other pieces of plastic come from?
Be more specific? Which pieces?
Where did the extra 2 pieces of plastic come from in those evidence bags?
Well, it appears to me that small fragment I pulled out may have potentially come from the larger piece. The other...
Just to clear that up, you believe, as you sit here, that smaller piece was broken off from one of the larger pieces?
Again, I'm making a big assumption here at your request.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's what it appears to me by looking in the bag.
And by the way, Lieutenant, this isn't a trick question. I'm not asking you to assume anything. You were there, and you recovered the pieces. And you described recovering 3
Yes.
items.
Yes, there it is.
Correct?
No.
No?
Didn't you just read in your report? I'll read it again, last sentence. The sneaker and 3 pieces of plastic were secured as evidence.
That's 4. That's 4.
Sorry, I said items of evidence. Items of plastic. Let's leave the sneaker out of our discussion for the time being.
Okay.
Okay.
So sneaky.
You were the one that conducted the search, correct?
The CERT team conducted the search. I was
You
present.
memorialized the search.
Yes.
You were there photographing the things that were covered in the search,
Yes.
and ultimately you were responsible for bagging those items up, correct?
Yes.
There are 5 items in that bag, or in those 2 bags, right? Just the plastic.
Correct.
And yet your report very clearly says there were 3 items of plastic evidence recovered at the scene, correct?
Yes.
So
Okay.
my question, once again, is where did the extra 2 items come from? The pieces of plastic?
Well, as memorialized on the bag, it says pieces of clear plastic. So I will take the hit that my report does not properly memorialize it. But I would argue that the
Wait. Hold on. You take the hit? A woman is being accused of murder. And you're like, my report, I screwed up. Whoop-de-doo. So what? 3 pieces of plastic. We got 4 pieces of plastic. We got 9 pieces of plastic. What's the difference? She hit him. Didn't you hear Jennifer McCabe get up here and say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him? More like, I bit him, I bit him, I bit him, I bit him. I can't say it with a straight face. Wow, folks. I'm gonna take the hit. I screwed up a murder investigation, just ever so slightly. So it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
notes on the bag that are contemporaneous to the collection of the evidence would be more accurate, as is in my memory of 2 clear plastic things being collected. Now, as to the 3rd piece, again, I'm making an assumption, but it appears that that is a small piece that was separated from the other 2 pieces.
You don't know that that small piece was separated from the other 2 by being broken off, do you?
No, I don't.
Just a guess on your part, right?
It's a guess. The bags were, out of our custody at the crime lab for a period of time.
Oh,
They had done an
see,
analysis.
it's the government pointing the finger. I had no control over it. It was them. If somebody did it, it was not me. And then of course you talk to the evidence people. No, definitely not. It was not me. This is how I received it. They just point the finger. They just lie. It's like calling the DMV. I'm sorry, you're calling the wrong department. You need to call them at this number, okay? And then call them like, no, I'm sorry, we don't handle that kind of stuff. You need to call this number, and you call them. And then like, no, I'm sorry, we're the wrong. And they send you back to the first people you spoke to. Nobody wants to do any work. Everybody's pointing the finger. Good enough for government work. Ay, 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 ay.
We did an evidence review with you, yourself, and the defense counsel on December 1st of last year. We pulled all the evidence out. It was memorialized by your investigator.
Oh, now he's pointing the finger at him.
You didn't see
Jackson, you did this.
snapping pieces off the plastic, right?
He did not.
Son of a.
I want to shift gears for a second, Lieutenant, and talk a little bit about the cell records.
Oh, cell records. Oh my God. That is going to be fascinating.
You testified to, specifically the Verizon call records that you testified about during your training, the 200 plus hours of training that you had. You've learned how to read Verizon records to determine the cell towers that are used in your investigation, correct?
Yes.
You were also taught how to read Verizon call records to determine the sector or the side that a cell tower is pinging, for lack of a better word, called a cell face, correct?
Yes.
All right. May I approach? No?
Yes.
Thank you.
Shout out to the trial channel, BT Dubs.
May I, Lieutenant? One of the documents that you rely on pretty heavily is ultimately it's a call record that gives you certain information provided by whoever the carrier is, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, whoever, right?
Yes.
Do you recognize the document that's in front of you or the portion of the call record that's in front of you?
It appears to be a portion from the call detail records we referenced earlier.
Okay. My questions about this are relatively simple. There is a sector number that provides information that describes the directionality, if you will, of the target phone number, which part of the cell tower that target phone number or that target device was facing, correct?
Yes.
In your maps, did you include any of the cell face data about which portion of the cell tower was pinging vis-a-vis the phone that was being tracked?
No. Can I explain why I made that decision?
Please do.
When the trouble with depicting and making exhibits when relative to cell phone records is you don't want to make the map too complicated. So as I describe it to the jury, I want to make sure that the record is clear. Now, I don't typically will use the sector as part of my maps. I would argue that it gives greater deference to the defendant because the phone could be anywhere within a 360-degree area of the antenna opposed to a narrower 120-degree area around that antenna. So for the purposes of making a clear depiction, I typically will not use sector unless it's absolutely important to show that a handset was in a specific location.
And so you did not include the sector information on the maps that you provided, both to Mr. Lally that you showed to the jurors and provided us, correct?
Yes, as relative to the CSLI ones, yes.
So in point of fact, according to the map at least, wherever that little triangle is, that red triangle that you use to denote the cell tower or the antenna, the responsive phone, the device, could be anywhere on a 360-degree azimuth from that antenna, correct?
Yes.
I want to ask you about the one map that was related to 5:20 a.m. to 5:37 a.m. You remember that?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. There were several maps shown. Got a copy. Can I approach?
Yes.
That's a copy of a page of an exhibit that's already been marked and entered into evidence. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And that's a copy of your map that you did dealing with ENBID 57021, correct?
Yes.
And the time frame was 5:20 a.m. to 5:37 a.m. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. And by the way, do you know what ENBID stands for?
No, that's why the legend key is helpful. Its node is the NB, but I'm unsure on the E.
Evolved Node B Identifier, right?
Is that a question? Yeah. That's possible, yes.
It is my question. Does
Okay.
that refresh your recollection? That's what it means?
I'd have to look at the key again, but that sounds right.
So an evolved, if that's what it stands for, an evolved node B identifier, and then a series of numbers after that, is simply sort of the proper name for a particular tower.
Correct.
No two towers have the same E and B ID, correct?
Correct.
Okay. With regard to, and I'm just going to call it ID 57021, do you see what appears to be, on your map, what appears to be the cell tower that is associated with that ID number, 57021?
Where's he going
Yes.
with this?
Okay. And there's one address that's denoted on your map, correct? Is that 34 Fairview?
No, there's multiple.
Okay, what are the other addresses that you noted on your map?
One Meadows Ave and Waterfall Bar and Grill.
Okay. May I approach you on that?
Yes.
If I could hand you another map, does that appear to be a Google map?
Yes.
Does that generally track the map that you created, the darker map that you created? Meaning it's the same basic scale?
It is not the same scale.
How much different is that scale?
The one you handed me is a zoomed-in version of the map I created.
Okay. Do you recognize it as being a true and accurate reflection of a Google map that's just zoomed in a little bit on the same basic area?
As you just described, it appears to be Google Map
Okay.
creation.
And you see two addresses that are denoted on that Google map?
Yes.
What are those two addresses?
34 Fairview Road and 12 Country Lane.
And as you look at that Google map with both of those, given your experience with both of those addresses, do those appear to be denoted accurately on that Google map?
It does. I would note that you can't see the roads really on this map that you handed me.
Understood. I'm not going to ask you a question
It's
about
kind
the
of it's a white blur, so it.
But does it look like that's where 34 Fairview is and that's where 12 Country Lane is?
But yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to ask you for the third item that's denoted on the map, and that is the cell tower 57021. Do you see that denoted on the map?
Yes.
Does that appear to be generally accurate in terms of the spatial location of where that cell tower is?
Yes.
Move for the admission of that item, that document.
Objection.
Why? Why are you objecting? What's the objection?
Taking a look at that exhibit, would you agree that the cell tower 57021 is significantly closer to what's denoted as 12 Country Lane, the McCabe residence, physically as a crow flies, than it is to 34 Fairview?
I would not characterize it as significant.
How would you characterize it?
That it is closer.
Okay. May I publish, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, so it's in evidence.
Take a look at the upper
Okay,
portion of
the objection was
portion of the
overruled.
map that I just highlighted. What does that denote?
The
Otherwise, the jury would never be able to see it.
tower that we previously mentioned, 57021.
Okay. And then there's a line just a straight line from that cell tower down to this location. What is that location?
It's denoted on this exhibit as 34 Fairview Road.
Okay. And do you see a legend indicating scale? How far that is?
I see numbers and miles written on there.
Does that appear to be reflective of given your understanding and your experience with this location or these locations, does that appear to be a relatively accurate delineation of the distance between the cell tower and that location, and that address?
I don't know the distance between the cell tower and the address off the top of my head.
Would you agree that it's around 2 miles?
It's roughly 2 miles.
Okay. Then I'm going to ask you to take a look at the same proximity, cell tower at the top of the screen, and then the address at 12 Country Lane. Do you see those two items denoted on the map?
Yes.
And do you see the approximate distance between those two items?
See it on the map?
All right. And does it appear to you that the distance from 12 Country Lane looks like it's less than half the distance to 34 Fairview?
I wouldn't characterize it as it appears to be less than half.
How would you characterize it?
My understanding of that area, I would say it's at least a mile between those two locations as the crow flies.
Okay, meaning between the cell tower and 12 Country Lane,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And it indicates approximately a mile, correct?
It does indicate that.
Okay. And the other location indicates approximately 2.4 miles, right?
It does indicate that.
All right. So would you agree that a mile is less than half of 2.4 miles?
I would agree a mile is less than half than 2.4.
Thank you. We can take that.
He's having so much trouble agreeing with Jackson. It's
You also
staggering.
noted that there were two cell towers much closer to 34. There are two cell towers much closer to 34 Fairview than the 57021, correct?
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, you already noted that for the jurors that say at 6 a.m. or 6:05 a.m. and thereafter, when it's clear that Ms. Reed was at 34 Fairview, she found the body of John O'Keefe, that her phone was relaying to those two towers variously, bouncing back and forth, correct?
Yes.
Those two towers are 57171, correct? Sorry, I don't need to test your memory like that. I can. There we go. Can I approach?
Yes.
I'm just going to give you that packet, Lieutenant. Like I said, it's not a memory test. If that helps refresh your recollection of the name of the two towers closest to 34 Fairview. Do you have that in mind?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the two towers closest to 34 Fairview are 57171, correct?
Yes.
And 57286, is that right?
Yes.
And both of those towers picked up Miss Reed's signal at 12:33 a.m. and again after 6:03 a.m., correct?
You asked me about 1233, so if it's okay, I'm going to refer back in the exhibit.
Of course.
And that is correct. It hit the 57171.
And then after 6 a.m., it was also picking up, bouncing, I think you said bouncing back and forth between 57171 and 57286.
Yes.
Both of those towers were picking her up.
Yes.
Importantly, though, between 5:20 and 5:37 a.m., neither of those two towers ever picked up her phone or any signal from her phone, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So based on those facts, it's far more likely that Karen Reed was actually at Jennifer McCabe's and on her way to Jennifer McCabe's at and around 5 a.m. than going to 34 Fairview, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
But it's what? Why?
I just want to touch very
Basis.
briefly on the ranging data, the RTT.
I mean, the jury
records.
heard it. That's enough.
What does RTT stand for?
Depends on who you ask from Verizon, either range to tower or round trip time.
Have you ever heard real-time tool?
I have.
Okay, so that's the RTT has several acronyms, but real-time tool is one of them, correct?
Yes.
The RTT data is what you earlier described as a ranging data or access distance, correct?
I didn't use the term access distance. I know that Verizon may, but I said ranging.
So it's just in common vernacular, it's the distance from the tower or from the antenna to where the signal is going, correct?
Yes.
All right. May I approach one more time?
Yes.
Could you please review that and tell me if you recognize what's depicted on that document?
I recognize it to be one of the entries from the RTT report for the account we're talking.
I'm sorry. And it's around 5:18 in the morning, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you utilize this report or portions of this report, including this entry, to come up with your data, especially as it relates to ranging data, correct?
Yes.
Do you see the column on that document called PROS duration sex, right? Procedure duration sex.
I do.
What does that mean?
That is the amount of time in which this communication occurred.
Okay. Am I correct in understanding that the length of time for the RTT event is calculated in seconds, correct?
It is.
All right. Do you see the row in the exhibit that indicates the time 5:18?
When he said sex, I thought it was something completely different. Just for the record, it's SECS. You pervs.
a.m.
Yes.
And you see a column that's labeled procedure start time.
Yes.
And right next to it, there's a procedure end time, correct?
Yes.
Are those the start times and the end times that you earlier testified to in front of the jury about the event in question at 5:18 a.m. or thereabouts, the start of the interaction or the communication with the device and the end of the communication with the device?
Yes.
When you say communication with the device, what does that mean? What are you referring to? A phone call, a text, something?
We don't know. As I testified to, the ranging reports will create entries even unbeknownst to the user. So I have no information with this record before me about what the user was or was not doing with the phone.
But your testimony is that those two arcs that we saw, those respective arcs that we saw, your testimony is that this RTT data, in your view, establishes that she was on the device, not she, but the device was on the first arc at the start time, and it was on the second arc at the end time.
I'm going off the ranging that they give me.
And then you created those two
This is important because that places Karen's vehicle in very particular locations. So if she allegedly had hit, let's say, John O'Keefe before she left 34 Fairview early on, when people were still inside having a party, I mean, you really want to tell me that 15 people have left and nobody noticed the body just strewn about? It was just covered with snow so quickly, nobody noticed. Please.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand what the definition of those two arcs are in your map.
The definition comes from the first distance and last distance, which is denoted on this exhibit you have in front of me here.
Okay, and the first distance is what?
0.82 miles.
Okay, and the second distance is, from memory, I think it's 0.97?
Correct.
All right. That's a difference of what? We do the math.
1.5 miles.
0.15.
miles, correct?
Excuse me, yes.
Okay. And do you see the procedural duration column indicated on that document?
I do.
Okay. And the procedure duration column indicates 0, doesn't it?
Yes.
However, if we look very closely at the start time and the end time, they're not actually the same times, are they?
Correct.
There's a difference in those two times. Can you tell the jurors what that difference is?
It is 4 thousandths of a second.
0.004 seconds, correct?
Yes.
And you testified that you believe that the start and end distances for the RTT event in question indicate two different locations for that device. In other words, the start time, it was on the first arc. The end time, it was on the second arc. You don't know where on the arc, but somewhere on those two arcs.
Using the ranging data, I created a map,
I
and
understand.
that's what I did.
Okay, and so the device would have moved from the first arc to the second arc, correct?
Yes.
Right. You're familiar with, obviously, the formula to determine speed using distance and time, correct?
Yes.
All right. Can you calculate for us the speed that the device would have traveled to go from the first arc to the second arc over a distance of 0.15 miles in 4 thousandths of a second?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay,
That's a serious question.
let me see if I can help.
I don't think he'll be able to
So
do that.
distance, sorry,
knows?
speed is calculated as distance divided by time, right?
Yes.
Oh my God. Are we going to be doing math?
If you divide 0.15 miles by 4 thousandths of a second, you come up with 37.5 miles per second. Would you agree?
Objection.
Sustained.
Why? You're just doing basic numbers. You're doing basic math. Is Alan Jackson going to be able to get all of this in without Lally interrupting him and corrupt Bev agreeing with Lally?
Can you do the calculation in your head?
No, sir.
Do you need a calculator?
I would.
Your Honor, if
I'd like to see counsel at sidebar, please.
She went to law school. She know
do
no
you happen to
math.
have your cell phone with you?
She know math good. She judge.
You were going to ask the other question first with your numbers.
I can. Let me ask you, so you don't have to sit there with a cell phone in front of you, let me ask you if you would agree with this, that 0.15 divided by 0.004 is 37.5.
I'd have to write it out. I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
If you had a calculator in front of you, could you do it?
I could.
You don't have your cell phone with you.
I do not.
With the court's permission, I've got mine right here, I can turn it on, or my co-counsel has one.
How about, can you use Madam Court Reporter's cell phone and do that? She's closest.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Court Reporter.
Thank you, Your Honor. If you could divide,
I don't trust defense counsel's calculators and your phones, you and your fancy technology. We have our own. Thank you very much. She's closer. Oh my God, this woman.
0.15 by 0.00.
By the way, for the record, I have a video on the corruption of Beverly Cannoni. It has actually gone viral on my channel, so feel free to check it out. My editor is going to include a link to the description below. Oh yeah.
Before. Let me know what you come up with.
37.5.
So that would be, given the fact that the distance as calculated, as indicated on that record, the distance is 0.15 miles over the course of 0.004 seconds, right?
No, I would push back as to when the distance was being created. That's the first distance and last distance.
Correct. What you indicated was the cell phone or the device was on the first arc during the first time, and the start time, and on the second arc at the end time. All I'm asking is some basic math. So you would agree that if the calculation we just did, or you just did, is 0.15 miles divided by 4 thousandths of a second, that is 37.5 miles per second, to stay consistent, miles per second, correct?
Well, I don't agree with the premise of the question. So
You don't have to agree with the premise of the question. I'm asking you about the math.
Oh, the math is correct, yes.
The math is correct, right? It's miles per second, correct?
Yes.
Based on that calculation. In order to get to miles per minute, you multiply it by 60, correct?
Yes,
Can you do that for me, please?
Madam Clerk. The question again, sir, I'm sorry?
Yes. Multiplying 37.5 times 60 would give us miles per minute. What is that number?
2,250.
And if we wanted to go to miles per hour, which we're more familiar with, multiply it by 60 again, wouldn't you? And what's that number?
1,035,000. Excuse me, sorry. 135,000.
135,000 miles per hour, correct?
Yes.
That's
So
fast.
you would agree, if the premise is moving from the arc, the first arc, moving 0.15 miles to the second arc, over the course of 0.004 seconds, the device would have to be traveling 135,000 miles per hour, correct?
In your question, you said 1.5 miles travel. It's 0.15 miles. You corrected me. I'm going to throw it back at you, sir.
Fair enough, fair enough.
All right.
Okay. 0.15 miles over the course of 0.004
My head is spinning
seconds,
from all these numbers.
The device would have to be traveling 135,000 miles per hour. It's basic math, correct?
While I agree with that, I would push back. That's probably not what the record is indicating.
You would agree that that is physically impossible, correct?
For a cell phone, yes.
Right. And you would also agree that since that's impossible, you're not suggesting to this jury that the device moved from arc 1 to arc 2 in 4 thousandths of a second. That can't be what you're suggesting.
I'm not suggesting that.
Okay. In fact, what actually makes more sense is that the signal was moving to and from the device at light speed, 186,000 miles per second.
It does. Radio
waves move at what?
speed of light.
Speed of light, 186,000 miles per second, right?
I know that a lot of you are confused right now. Forget the numbers. Just let me simplify it to you as if I'm talking to a 5-year-old. The numbers that were being used in the calculation of the cell towers do not make sense because the speed of light at which most of this stuff travels, as Alan Jackson has already indicated, and Tully agreed, the numbers are so far apart that the numbers being talked about in evidence do not make sense. Realistically, they should be something else. But that's about as simple as I can describe it. Something is wrong here. We gotta fix it. Well, what is it, Jackson? Tell us. We're curious. We want to know.
Yes.
Okay. If, as you indicated on direct examination, if that return signal, the bounce, is in any way refracted, it takes a deviation. And it's not straight because of something like, I don't know, weather, precipitation, or snow, then it would take longer to get back to the antenna, correct?
That's fair.
And that could be what's reflected in that map and the distance of the two arcs. Isn't that correct?
That's not my experience with these records.
But you do agree that, in fact, the device, as you indicated earlier, moved from arc 1 to arc 2 from the start time to the end time. That's impossible.
No, I'm saying that the records reflect that the first time the distance was created, marked, and the second time the distance was marked. That's what's represented on the map.
Right, but you said that those are reflective of the start time and the end time, which is 4 thousandths of a second apart.
No, I don't know that's when these distances were created. It doesn't say start of procedure distance. It says first distance, last distance.
And by the way, for the record, since this is YouTube and you guys can comment on this video, if you want to break it down, I will highlight your comment. If you want to break down the exact thought process, if you're like an engineer or a cell tower expert who can explain it even better than I can, because I don't know the exact like origin of all this stuff, because I'm not an engineer myself. I love numbers and I can crunch numbers and I can even crunch them in my head sometimes. But this is a little too technical for me, for my palate to be able to explain it. I try to do it in the simplest way possible, but if you can help our audience, I will love you forever. And I will highlight your comment and I will pin it to the top. So that way, if anybody has any questions and they're like, oh, you know, for posterity, then they can just scroll down to the top comment and they will see the full explanation. So thank you in advance, kind stranger, for doing this for us.
It says, procedure start time, 5:18 and 19 seconds, 0.154, right?
Yes.
Procedure end time, 5:18, 19 seconds, 0.158, right?
Yes.
That's the difference. May I approach one more time?
Yes.
That's the difference. And that's the 0.004 of a second difference, correct?
Yes.
And on direct examination, you said the start time and the end time are how you calculated the two different arcs,
No.
correct?
No.
Are you changing your testimony?
No. The map says first and last, as reflected in the record, first distance and last distance. So one could hold the map and this record next to each other and figure out how I determined those locations depicted on the map. It doesn't say start and end time. It says first and last.
Right. But you said that it was the beginning of the communication and the end of the communication, which are both reflected on that document, Lieutenant. The
Yes.
start time and the end time. I understand what you're saying about the distance. It's 0.15. Nobody's arguing about that. You're saying, you said on direct examination that the distance was a difference between what time the first arc occurred and what time the second arc occurred. And there was a distance between it. And your testimony was the device moved from the first arc to the second arc. You just said it, right?
I'm saying the device moved from the first arc to the second arc, yes.
And it would be impossible to do that in 4,000ths of a second, correct?
A cell phone, yes.
There it is. Okay, let's hear that one more time.
From the first arc to the second arc. You just said it, right?
I'm saying the device moved from the first arc to the second arc, yes.
And it would be impossible to do that in 4,000ths of a second, correct?
A cell phone, yes.
It would be impossible for it to do in 4,000ths of a second. And for a cell phone, yes, that's the conclusion. This is all this buildup was to just get that one admission. Sometimes it takes a lot for an attorney to have to lay the foundation and lead you in. He could have just asked it, but then Lally would have objected, improper foundation laid. And you know what? He would be 100% correct. So we have had this discussion for like probably 15 minutes. We started in the part 3 of this video, and now in part 4, we're continuing it. And finally, we have that conclusion that we've all awaited. So there you have it.
One last issue, and I'm gonna deviate from the cell tower stuff. You got information during the course of your investigation that an eyewitness placed a Ford Edge in front of 34 Fairview in the early morning hours of January 29, 2022, correct?
I'm familiar with that.
As the supervising investigator, by the way, you were familiar with the fact that the eyewitness placed that Ford Edge sorry, let's see if I can start that over. The eyewitness indicated that the Ford Edge was placed there sometime between 2:30 in the morning and 3:30 in the morning, correct?
I'm familiar with that.
All right. As the supervising investigator, did you do anything to investigate the circumstances of that Ford Edge being placed in front of 34 Fairview sometime between 2:30 and 3:30 in the morning?
Yes.
What did you do?
Well, we determined the veracity of that statement, and we want to make sure that the person who gave it is consistent and accurate and had a good vantage point of it. I have concerns about...
By the way,
Oh,
were you satisfied with that?
no.
Why not?
Well, the person has given the statement multiple times, and it appears to have changed over those times. It also appears that the person observed this vehicle from a distance, and also the identification of a Ford Edge seemed highly suggestive the way that I had read the account of it. If I had done that as a police officer, this court would throw out that identification.
So, did you find out anybody in the Albert family, for instance, on the Ford Edge?
I don't recall off the top of my head if somebody...
Did you look at automobile registration records?
I did not know.
Did you task anybody else to look at automobile registration records?
I believe Trooper Proctor and Sergeant Mechanic had investigated that.
And do you have any idea what that investigation revealed?
I don't.
Did the Alberts own a Ford Edge?
I don't know as I sit here.
They did own a Ford Edge, didn't they?
Objection.
So the objection sustained.
But nothing was done further that you're aware of to investigate the circumstances of that Ford Edge being seen and placed in front of 34 Fairview, right where the body was found, between 2:30 and 3:30 in the morning, right?
An investigation into the reliability of that witness was conducted.
So you just decided, and that investigation, quotes, is, I didn't believe him, right?
No.
That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Lally, anything?
All right, so that was the cross-examination. We're not going to do the redirect. Nobody cares what Lally has to say. There are just a few more minutes remaining of the recross. Now, the recross is going to be juicy because Jackson is going to be ripping Tully apart on everything that he said on redirect. Like I said, we're skipping it. You're more than welcome to go to the trial channel. Shout out to you all. It is not sponsored by them or anything like that. I'm just giving credit where credit is due since I'm using their edits, and thank you all for that once again. And speaking of sponsors, this video is sponsored by my firm, Forman and Associates, your go-to place for car accident cases anywhere in the country. 1-844-774 HURT, H-U-R-T. It's at the bottom of the screen. Call it. Lawyers are standing by, trial lawyers, to get you the maximum compensation allowed under the law. Let's finish up the video, shall we?
Lieutenant Tully, you still have, I think it was 578, because you have 578 in front of you.
I have 577.
Is
578 is not marked yet.
oh, it's not? Where's the RTT record? Is that 577?
I have RTT records that are not marked in front of me.
May I approach?
Yes.
They're talking about evidence markings, in case you're wondering.
Move to admit.
And
So,
Objection.
right. So let's mark it for identification, Milton.
of course he's going to object.
I'm sorry, and that was letters.
Triple K.
Thank you. You're looking at triple kilo, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. When you created the arcs on your map, you also put on the map 5:18 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Where'd you get that number?
From the procedure start and end time.
So you did use the procedure start time and end time, correct?
To denote the time, but not, to denote the time on the slide, yes.
On the event, correct?
Yes.
All right, so the 5:18-19, I'm sorry,
And
5:18.
by the way, for the record, the video glitching like that has nothing to do with anything. This was NBC 10 losing footage. Maybe a cell phone signal has been interrupting or anything, but we have clear audio. So please bear with us. I have no control over the video. It should stabilize itself in a few seconds. And we have 2 more minutes of testimony.
and 19 seconds.
There it
And
is.
then, I don't have it in front of me, but 0.154, I think. Is that right?
Yes.
That was the time that you used to establish that the device was on the first arc, correct?
No, I didn't use it to establish the arc. I used the distance to establish the arc, and I placed the time on the slide.
What time, Lieutenant Tully?
5:18.
The time that Verizon gave you as the start time, correct?
Yeah, they're both 5:18.
So there's a start time and a start distance from the tower. In other words, the event took place at this distance at this time starting, correct?
No, you're using
No?
the wrong words. It says first distance.
I'm not using the wrong words.
Yes, sir. You said start distance. It's first distance.
Okay, fine. Okay, pick the words. First distance. Start time and first distance, correct?
Yes.
Then
Those are on the record.
Right. Then Verizon gives you an end time, correct?
Yes.
He's a technical guy. I almost want to forgive him, but words you have to be careful with. But Jackson, again, is not an engineer. He's trying to get his point across. It's hard especially when you're in the heat of the moment, you're trying to get a point across, like first distance, start time, start distance, you're going to get it wrong. It's forgivable. But the way Tully is like clenching up is just so peculiar.
And last distance, correct? Yes. And you created your arc based on the start time and first distance versus the end time and last distance, correct?
No. The time weren't associated.
You're saying no is because that would require the device to travel at 135,000 miles an hour.
Objection. If the witness could please answer the question.
So let him finish.
Okay, sure.
And then the objection to that is sustained. You can ask it differently.
Go ahead.
The times were not part of the depiction of the range. While I will suggest to you that it is probably unbelievable that those are actually start and end times. What I'm saying is we don't know for certainty that that is the exact time, the first distance and the last distance. I'd have to look back at the records, but I also say that we have corroborating evidence to say that that is accurate.
So you'd have to look back at the records, correct?
Yes,
That is your record.
No,
That's
the-
what you looked at, isn't it?
the record's key.
And where's the record's key?
They were provided by Verizon.
Where are they, sir?
I don't have them in front of me.
Right. That's all.
No further questions. The thing that could theoretically prove that I am not lying here today, sir, I didn't bring it. Because if he had brought it, it would absolutely confirm that he is lying. That's why Jackson just left it at that. Now, the problem is, to be completely honest with you, I don't think the jury understood any of his testimony towards the end. So I don't know how much of that they actually got across, but who cares? Jackson did his job. He did the best that he could given the circumstances. Very difficult to simplify technical knowledge to a jury anyway. I think Ms. Little is their technical expert and their numbers expert, although I'm sure Jackson has enough experience with that as well. There you have it, folks. That is the conclusion of Lieutenant Detective Sergeant Master Commander Captain Tully.